All right, hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. This channel is for educational purposes, and we try to tune you into some great theories, discoveries, and concepts that you're probably not familiar with because they've been suppressed. And these are things that the powers that be don't want you to know about. And these are things that you have to do a lot of digging to get into. This is a feature number 33, I believe, that we have that's called the Q-tip of the spear. And I discuss um, uh, use my discretion to discuss whatever I feel like in terms of the info war. Usually, some podcasts that I've watched or some other multiple podcasts that I've watched that I usually watch the people that are at the tip of the spear and people that talk about Q. So, therefore, we have the Q-tip of the spear. And yeah, I remember way back in a previous lifetime when I was in law school, and it must have been 1991, early 1991. What is that, 35 years ago? And this was during NFL playoffs. And I lived in a house with a bunch of guys. And we were watching the football game, uh, the Raiders against the Bills. And one of my friends who was there was a huge Bills fan from New York. And um, this is right when the Persian Gulf War was going on. Just it started. And I just remember him saying the Bills put a shellacking on the Raiders that day. And uh, I believe the score was like 51-3 or something. And my my friend said, uh, "Why don't you, because we were watching, this is back in the day where I guess we had remote control back then, but we didn't have, you know, picture in picture, or we couldn't watch five TVs at once or whatever." And so he said, "Why don't you turn the war on? It's closer." Because the Bills were killing the Raiders so badly that we decided to watch the war because it was closer. And yeah, I feel that kind of vibe going on right now. It seems like the boss is really trying to trivialize this whole thing. He's putting on little entertainment memes and little clips that he's issuing from the White House right in the middle of this so-called war. Uh, Again, you have to just figure that it has to be full control. Um, I don't think anybody would voluntarily expose themselves to that kind of ridicule or potential backfire of something unless they already knew what the result was going to be. And, there's a script, and uh, the boss is kind of the hero of the script, so he's always going to come out smelling like a rose. And it's hard to watch because it's somewhat interesting to watch because um, people are reading and just getting outraged by things that like they happened like 8 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago, and um, you didn't notice it when it happened, but now that the TV is showing it to you as a uh, reenactment, you are outraged and you just look foolish because if you weren't so triggered and to be so willing to be outraged, then you would see it for the absurdity that it is, and you wouldn't get triggered because you would recognize that this can't be real. There's no way that this can be real. Um, Now, if this is not real, and the guys on D class were basically got into that a little bit today, looking at Abraham Lincoln's uh, what he did during the Civil War. He like literally went after journalists and jailed them uh, when they were putting out fake news in one particular instance. And he didn't leave them in jail too long, you know, but he put him in jail because they printed something that they kind of knew was incorrect about the war, the Civil War. So by that reasoning, and this was you know a precedent that was set, and by that reasoning, um, you have to figure that the same thing happened many years ago here in this situation. Um, or if you don't figure it that way, maybe you figure that it's going to happen. But it seems to me that it's already happened. So, um, because the news has just gotten just more and more absurd. They're pushing the envelope. How stupid do we have to make this get before people figure this out? And, people are figuring it out, but it's just gradual. Certain people figure it out at certain times, and, the stragglers are still, um, unfortunately, it seems like just about everybody I know is a straggler. Uh, but the stragglers, they just slough it off. They're willing to watch some of the most absurd stuff that comes on. Um, Now, once you recognize the absurdity, you might want to point out the absurdity. But really, the next step is that we have to recognize that this phase is kind of over. The the game's been won. And so it's time to start preparing for the next phase. There's no real time for any popcorn or champagne or anything like that. As I've been saying on all my videos, just about this movement is not ready to move into the next phase, not ready to move into the golden age because we haven't done the proper digging. The digs haven't gone deep enough. We've deconstructed the 21st and at least most of the 20th century. But this stuff goes all the way back through history and it affects every aspect of your life. And the Patriots have not deconstructed every aspect of their life. And so they are really, in spite of the fact that they are a million miles ahead of the other team, they're still incredibly naive in general in terms of just there's so much of what they've inherited in their life that they are still clinging to. Everything that you inherited is got to be deconstructed. Some of it might survive the scrutiny, very little of it. Um, but some of it mites, but you got to put it under the scrutiny. And I just seem to be able to hit you from like almost every angle, and you don't have any awareness of any of these viewpoints that you should be aware of by now. And so we got to wake up to that. I'm not, you know, you've done a great job so far. It's just we got to go to the next step. It's not like it's not a real criticism because we needed to be focused on this step now. But you've got to be able to see that this has already been won and get ready to move to the next phase. So I think that's where we're at, and that's what my channel's for. Wild Tangent, check it out. There's all kinds of 1,500 videos on there that are all going to be useful for your digging. And thanks for tuning in to the Q-tip of the spear. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and contribute. And we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in today. Have a great day.